Well, thank you, Kåre, for that introduction. Well, I just had a beautiful plate of grasshopper and flower worms. It was absolutely tasty. I cannot, emphasize enough how you have to go taste them. But, well, besides of being a meat lover, which is absolutely politically incorrect these days, I'm also a killer. Well, yeah, it's out. I could draw it back a bit in this speech, but, I'm just going to put it out there right from the beginning. A couple of years ago, I met this guy called Mikkel Hesselager, or Mr. Hesselager, and he's a trained chef. But he quit his job as a chef because every day he was looking at the meat that he got in, and he thought, maybe if this is the best, well, I can do better. So he decided to quit his job and then become a butcher, try to produce meat that he could, vote for in any kind of way. I met up with this guy, and he told me about his business, and I tasted the meat. I maybe sound a bit strange, but I tasted his meat. It was amazing. It was like a bromance never seen before. Two guys, steak in the middle, eye contact. Oh my God. That taste of that sweet caramelization, it was some nuances in meat taste that I've never ever tasted before. So, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, we got in kind of a meat engagement. I decided, that maybe I could be a part of his shop, and he agreed. And so we start working. And when I serve this meat for people, it's like, I'm like this, until they taste it, and then the silence comes over the table, which is like, either people are gonna spit it out, or they're gonna get like clear eyes, and that's what I hope for, at least. But when I serve that meat to people, I serve it with another pride. Obviously, because it's some meat that I've been in contact with, working with, and then because they themselves can not, at the moment, define what the meat is tasting like, because they never tasted anything like that. It's just a funny explosion on your taste buds, and at the end of the day, they all been like, that's something we never tasted before. In Denmark, we're just such a spoiled country. Everybody says the meat was cheap and it was tender. Well, there you go. If that's like the points that you are reaching for when you're buying meat, you could buy, paper. Maybe a beautiful piece of wood, I guess. It's cheap, and But, tenderness is not actually a taste. It's a description of texture. And then the price, well, we tend to want to buy more meat for less money. And that's not exactly what I think is the best for the animals. So how can you allow yourself to think about the animals while you're killing them? Well, I'm a carnivore. I love my meat, and I need to have it. My proteins are not yet only crickets and flower worms. It's still like, I like a good steak. I like a nice roast. I like pork chops. And we produce a lot of meat. In fact, we produce so much meat that we're starting to freezing it down. It's like meat banks. Imagine you're going to the bank with a bag of pork chops, handing it over, said, you will keep that for me for a couple of years, and then I'll come back, and the 2 pork chops will turn into 3 pork chops. That is beautiful. But eventually, 2 pork chops don't become 3 pork chops. It doesn't matter how long you're going to lay that for. It's not going to be pork chops. Eventually, it's going to be a kind of funky, but it's not going to become more. But we produce so much more meat that we are freezing it. And these meat banks are just standing there. Why? I don't know why. There are so much numbers and figures of how much meat each of us carnivores eat a year. And depending on what organization who did that analyze, the numbers are completely different. And I'm confused about it. I'm in the middle of this all the time, and I'm really confused about it. So I base this, thing on we're producing too much meat on the amount of meat that we have frozen down. Obviously, because all these numbers and figures can tell you everything, but at the end of the day, how much meat do we have, left over not to be used? And there's a lot. I don't think that's necessarily good, not for the meat. If you want to have meat, you want to butcher the animal, you want to age it, and then you want to eat it. You don't want to freeze it. But I don't want to be on like some kind of sacred crusade. Half of this body, this temple of meat, is like built of frozen minced beef. We all know that. We all been like in the supermarket after work, getting, we're going to have this and this. Oh, this is cheap. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to go home. So this is not a sacred crusade. This is just to represent an alternative of meat. And then people go, oh, but the price is so high. It's so much more expensive to buy your meat than it is to buy, 5 chickens for like 100 Danish kroners. Well, I agree, it is. But look at it this way. Maybe it's a good and beautiful investment in the future. Because right now, everybody's talking about the way we are producing meat as, the carbon dioxide thing and the green growth, and are we, all the meat are containing penicillin, they are containing growth hormones, and the feed they are getting to be bigger, faster, on a shorter time, it's filled with all kinds of strange things that necessarily not is from the nature. And that's a bit scary, I guess. I think it's scary when you not have like this visibility into what the producing contains. And in our shop, Spis Min Gris, or Eat My Pig in English. If you mix that up, English-Danish is going to be strange. We allow ourselves to take that much more money for the meat because we like you to pay for the history. We like to make you pay for the guys and the girls who are producing our meat, the farmers, their experience, their time. Oh my God, they're out on the fields every morning looking at the animals if they can find them because they are running around freely. And all their goodwill in producing the best meat. We don't add any unnatural growth hormones to the animals. We don't add any unnecessarily penicillin. We just let the animals sort the things out themselves. Thereby, we also have a much longer production time. The weight that we need to have our animals on are they're not that weight until they are maybe 2 years old. So it takes time. But then the meat will also get that better, I think. And the price we're paying is obviously time. Because meat is a currency. We got meat banks, so money talks, and that's it. And maybe that's a bit sad thing. That's a sad thing, I think. Because it should be like, almost 60% of the world do not get their meat proteins from a desk. It's only in our industrialized Western countries that we are allowed to have these kinds of storages. And we shouldn't. Actually, we shouldn't. You should kill what you eat. That was when we were running around almost just naked with a stick and a stone, with no language. We understood that let's kill what we can eat, and it's going to be that. A bit primitive, I guess. But I like it that way. I think it carries some kind of romantic story about it, but it also contains a story about our well-being, what we are gonna leave for the future generations. Are we just gonna let the big meat industry modify our meat so much that you can grow a cow in 1 month, get milk out of it, and get meat out of it at the same time? No, I don't agree with that. I agree with that we have to be more concerning about what we put on our plates meat-wise. I even got vegetarians to taste the meat, and I was not threatening them with a butcher knife. They were just like, whoa, we know the story, we want to taste that. And they were like, oh my God, this is okay. And in fact, our meat is more okay than much of the vegetables that they're eating. Like if you got chickpeas from Afghanistan, if you got, whatever, gene-modified leeks, they got it all going on in the vegetables also. But I'm concerning about the meat. I can't save the whole world in one day. So I would really like to apply to you guys, that because of money talks, all the politicians, all the agricultural organizations, they're just beating each other up all the time, and you're standing as a consumer like this. What are they saying? I can't understand it. And you can't. But if you make a small demand on your local meat provider, obviously at some time something's going to have to change. And that's our responsibility, because us as consumers, we can shout and we can point our fingers at the farmers, we can point our fingers at the big agricultural organizations that it's your fault. It's your fault. We can point our fingers at the politicians, and it doesn't help, because politicians are crazy. The big agricultural organizations are a bit crazy, and putting them together is like, oh my God, it's mayhem. So if we as consumers decide that we will not participate in that kind of growth in the meat industry, we will automatically claim our ground for having healthier, much more environmental concernable meat. And I think small steps will make a huge impact. We're not going to change this in a day, I said that before, but we have the chance to make an impact so that the future generation will have some kind of reasonable nature to live off. And that's a good thing. I'm going to end this up by talking, telling about an old farmer who came to me when I was out cooking. And he came with me and gave me his hand. He was from Jutland. And he gave me his hand. It was like shaking a board. And he was like, "Simon, thank you so much." And I was like, "What?" "Thank you so much. This meat tasted like when I was a kid, and that's a long time ago. I really missed it, so thank you so much." That dude has produced meat for like 30 years, and then he stopped because the industrialization of the meats in the middle of the 60s in Denmark exploded. He stopped. He couldn't, be a part of it anymore. And he came to me as an old farmer and said that what we did right now was like the taste of the past, and I guess that was the best thing I could ever have been told about the meat, because obviously have to taste good, but to have that recognition from an old guy, to have been doing that for 50 years, oh my God, that was just like beautiful. So I'm going to keep on doing that. And I'm going to end this up, wrap this thing up by a quote. Normally I hate quotes, but we got this cool dude in Denmark called Søren Kierkegaard. Yeah, he's dead, obviously. But anyway, he said some pretty nasty things, and he said some pretty cool things. And he said, life can only be understood backwards, but it has to be lived forwards. Thank you so much.